Hey everybody, welcome to my channel. This is DJ Vinyl Vertigo, and you are in the Chaka Files. This is Chaka Files number 15. And the record that we are talking about today is a solo record. And it is, well, we're going to be doing solo records from now on because, we finished with all the Rufus stuff. This is 19, let's see, what is this? 1986, Warner Brothers, and this is a record called Destiny. Destiny. She looks great there, doesn't she? That's Shaka, looking just as sexy and beautiful as ever. And this is a promo copy. I think I had an original copy way back in the day, but I found this OG because I don't. I think somebody might have taken this from me, or this might have been lost in a divorce or something. I don't know. Whatever, doesn't really matter. But this is it's got the a hype sticker stuck right on the record, and it's the gold promo stamp. Um, this is this is not my go-to record for Shaka Khan. However, whenever I do play it, I go, God, I can't believe I don't play this often enough because I kind of like I remember when we bought this. My ex and I we were both Shaka fans like crazy, and so we would go to the store and purchase the Shaka Khan record and take it home and put it on and not even talk. We were silent. We would listen to it from beginning to end, and we would stare at each other and smile, like because that's how obsessed we were with Shaka. We understood each other for that, you know. Um, you can't sustain a relationship with just that, though. But and we're good friends to this very day. But anyway, that's the memory that I have with this record specifically. Um, the executive producer was Arif Mardin, of course, for Denise Productions, but there was a lot of producers on this record and a lot of different writers, and some hard hitters in here, like the System were on here. I believe Hamish Stewart came on a lot of things of hers, so it's kind of wild to see because he's always around. Phil Collins is on this record. Um, Russ Titleman is a producer. There's just a lot of stuff going on here. Um, but I must say that Green Gartside is on this record, and he's and David Gamson, and they're from Scritti Politti. They actually wrote and produced the hit single off this record called "Love of a Lifetime." Um, and that was a really good song, but it sounded like a Scritti Politti song. Let's face it. I mean, so let me just start by saying that this was a period in the '80s where '80s music all started to sound all the same. I mean, everybody was using the same synthesizers and Moogs and programming and that kind of stuff and sampling and all that. Everybody was doing it. Everybody sounded the same pretty much. It's just what made you different was the songs themselves and maybe the way you approached it, or if you had somebody rap on it or something like that. Something made it special. You had to do something to make it special and to make it significant to you. But after a while, you really couldn't just, unless you, I mean, except for the voices, of course, the vocalists. If you just heard the music without the vocals, you couldn't disseminate one artist from another. I mean, everything was kind of canned, and I felt like this was a period with Shaka Khan, and she wasn't alone in this. So I can't knock her for it. I think a lot of artists just got into that. Maybe it wasn't the artists so much. Maybe it was more the producers, and maybe it was more the labels. They wanted to have that hit, whatever that big hit was. Everything had to sound like Thriller, or everything had to sound like Steve Winwood when he came out with his Back in the High Life Again. Everything had to sound like that. Or whomever was doing something really, electronic, it had to go that way. And it was like, oh my God, everybody's starting to sound like this. So that was my only thing about this. Is this was a period where Shaka Khan had a record that sounded like everybody else's '80s record. So it's kind of dates. It becomes dated, and that's what I said all that to say that. However, still, it's Shaka Khan. So her singing is not dated. I mean, her singing is Shaka singing. So that pretty much puts it on another level. Even though the music itself is not that special, and not that it's bad. It's just that it sounds like everybody else. You know what I'm saying? It's not really. It doesn't have that dirt. It's too clean. You know, it's very clean and canned sounding. You know what I mean? And so that's my critique of that. Again, you can't fault it because that's what everybody was doing, and I think I've said that a couple times already. So I'm going to stop saying that. Uh, that being said, I'm just going to tell you about some of my favorite tracks because not everything was my favorite. Um, I'll also say that this is, to me, Shaka always had, to me, she always had this. There was something inside of her, I think, or there is something inside of her that wants to be more of a rock and roller. You know, there's a lot of people who are into, like it's a known fact that like Madonna always wanted to be a rocker, but she became a dance artist, and that served her very well. And so she kind of let go of the rock and roll thing and just decided to be a dance artist. Um, just the opposite for Alanis Morissette. You know, she started out as a dance pop star, but she wanted to be a rock and roller, and she became a rock and roller, pretty much an indie pop rock artist. So, you know, she actually did what she wanted to do in terms of that, and it worked for her. Madonna did fine without doing rock and roll, so that's cool. And Shaka, the same thing. But she still had this moments of rock in her because you can tell when she does live music. When she's live on stage, her band will rock out at times, or they'll get very jazzy at times. So she gets her things in there, and she gets her appetite whetted when she does live events. In this period, though, she didn't really. I don't believe she always had complete control of what she was doing musically. Um, I think a lot of people had ideas about what she should be doing, and sometimes they did really good by her, and sometimes I think they kind of restricted her in a way because she was into, like when she was singing the song "Love of a Lifetime," she's not singing purely Shaka. I mean, there is a Shaka feel, of course, because she can't not sound like herself, but she was it was canned. It was canned, and I also did a lot of sampling where they would repeat her vocal. It was all that kind of stuff, which I wasn't used to with her because I was used to her just singing. I wasn't used to them like taking her voice and echoing it and making it like more of a percussive instrument. You know, like using a word and having the word happen a million times, like in a hip hop song or something. So they did that kind of stuff with her. And you see that on Love of a Lifetime and certain other songs. There's a song called Earth to Mickey, which is okay. It's not the best. It's all right. And who wrote that? Let's see. Well, that's Love of a Lifetime is music by Dave Gamson and Green Gartside, and those are the guys from Scritti Politti who I absolutely love. Green Gartside wrote the lyrics to that, and they produced that with Arif on that record, and they play on it as well. Marcus Miller plays bass on this, of course. Oh, he's so cool. Bob Gay on saxophone, Matthew Cornish on trumpet. There's a lot of really cool live, at least there's live horns on there, so that's really cool. It's not all canned stuff there. Earth to Mickey, it's okay song. Again, Sandra St. Victor sings back up on it. Mark Stevens sings back up as well on that. Just to tell you, Mark Stevens is all over this record. Her brother sings with her a lot on albums. And on the Love of a Lifetime is Green Gartside singing backup. So it has that. When you hear his voice, you know Scritti Politti had something to do with it because it has the Scritti Politti sound. It has his vocal, his sweet little high voice, his high tenor, which very much is similar to the guys from Squeeze. It's got that kind of sound. Anyway, Earth to Mickey, it's okay. Watching the World, again, okay. Other Side of the World, again. These songs just don't. They're not, to me, absolutely memorable. Watching the World is pretty cool because it has kids singing on it, that kind of thing. But then she has a song that she wrote called My Destiny, which is really, really good. I think it's a great tune. Steve Ferrone on drums, Anthony Jackson on bass, Randy Frederick on guitar, and Shaka does her own backup vocals on that one. Um, Can I Be Loved? I think that's a rock tune. Some of the songs really rock out. They just They just, I mean, there's a lot of roaring rock and roll guitars on this album, which is very different to hear on a Shaka Khan record. So I consider this her rock record in a way. It's her rock record. It's definitely her 80s period record. This is definitely an 80s record. When you put it on, you know you're in the 80s. You can tell. Um, but then she's got this song that is so cool. Let's see. It has a really. I thought this was done with by the System, but it's not. Actually, I was wrong on that. Song called "It's You," and to me, it's very, very System-like. It sounds like McMurphy and David. It sounds like those guys. But it's Tony Prattler and Portia Griffin wrote it, produced by Arif Martin and Reggie Griffin, and it's got that real System computerized sound to it, and especially in the choruses. I think it's a really cool song for her. That could have been a single as far as I was concerned. So Close is another pretty decent song on there. Again, I think So Close is the one that's kind of really, yeah, it rocks out a little bit. Then she's got this song to me that sounds like we're back to Shaka. We're back to what we expect from Shaka, and it's called Tight Fit. And I think that was a single for her as well. It's one of my favorite songs on the album, and it's written by Bunny Sigler and Marvin Morrow, produced by Russ Titleman and Arif Martin. And on this record, on this song, on this piece, let's see, Reggie Griffin and Joe Martin on keyboards, Tony Prattler on synthesizer, bass, Paul Pesco on guitar, Jimmy Browlauer on drum machine programming, see what I mean? And then all these horn players. Backups by Shaka, Mark, and Sandra St. Victor. Sandra St. Victor, I think, still works with Shaka on tours and stuff. Tight fit, got to find me the right fit. Oh, it's awesome. It's really a great tune, and that to me sounds like Shaka, and it just has that funky, soulful. It's very open. It leaves there's a lot of opening for her to just like wail and for her to just do her thing. You know what I mean? Also on this record, there's a couple of tunes, and I forget which ones they are. I think Earth to Mickey is one, and there's another song later on. I think it's Who's It Gonna Be. I'm not sure, but she does a little rap, not rap like hip hop rap, but she talks like in Motown, like she just talks in the beginning of the song. And Shaka can sometimes be a little goofy. She's not a little goofy on those. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that, but you know, I don't really get too negative because it's my girl. So I'm going to love everything she does. So that's how it's going to be. And it ends with the song called "Who's It Gonna Be." That doesn't end. It ends with "Coltrane Dreams." Again, Shaka hinting at us that don't forget I can sing jazz too, and she does this kind of vocalese riff to a Coltrane riff. And she kind of pumps it up. It has more of an electronic sound, so it doesn't sound like the traditional bebop or hard bop kind of stuff, but it's hard bop with synthesizers kind of guiding it. And so it has that kind of updated sound. So it doesn't sound like it doesn't sound like old time jazz. It sounds like jazz with a beat, with some kind of like, you know, programming and processing on it. And so it's her doing this vocalese over it. And that's pretty cool too. She wrote that with Arif and Julie Martin, and that's produced by Arif and Shengis Yaltskaya, I guess. And on this, it's special effects. It's a lot of let's see, who's on this one? Special effects, drum, percussion, and bass sounds were created by processing Shaka Khan's voice samples. See what I mean? Through a synclavier. And that's pretty much it. And then there's Senghis Yaltkaya does all the keyboards. Sam Rivers is on tenor sax. John Mahoney on synclavier programming. So it's a very, very, very electronic sounding piece. It's only like a minute or maybe 2 minutes tops. It's a little less than 2 minutes, that track, and that's the closing track to that. So that's all I have to say about that. It's definitely a good record. to me, it's not one of her best records, but that's not to say there's not some good smoking, some bangers on there. There's some bangers on this record. Like I said, um, uh, like Love of a Lifetime, Watching the World, My Destiny, It's You, Tight Fit, and Coltrane Dreams. There's some really great tunes on here. And there's others that, I don't, they're not as memorable. Because if they were memorable, I'd be able to remember it without having to go back to it. And I've listened to this record a few times trying to remember the other tracks, and it's really hard for me. The ones that I spoke more about, those are the ones I remember. Those are the memorable tracks. Those are the good ones. And there's enough of them on here to say, yeah, get this record. It's really good. It's called Destiny from 1986. Chaka Khan, Chaka Files, Catch It, lovely woman with great voice, and incredible people around her, just making music. And even if it's not in the top 10, of anybody's lists, it's a good record anyway. Destiny, Chaka Khan. That's it I have to say for that. And we have many, many more. So we're not, it ain't over yet. And of course, Shaka's still with us, so it still ain't over. So we'll continue to do stuff. When she puts out new stuff, I'll still be talking about it. And we're not, again, we're like, maybe we're halfway through, I'm not sure. But we're hardly at the end of the Chaka Files. There's lots more to come. Keep listening to great music, and of course, check out some Chaka when you get a chance. Take care, guys.